Today's daf is Masechta Baba Kamma Daf Kuf Tezayin, and we're going to just start from. I'm just going to repeat, just tell you the Mishnah so you can fully understand. It's very straightforward Gemara. The Mishnah actually is on Daf Kuf Tezvav Amal Aleph, and let's just review the Mishnah so we'll understand the Gemara. You hear the Mishnah is on the screen here. You know, when somebody's in trouble, you have to help them. If it doesn't cost you any money, there's a mitzvah that you have to help them. That's like the mitzvah of Hashavas Aved. If you could pick up a lost object and you don't lose anything and you can return it, that's part of the mitzvah. So here, mitzvah, the Mishnah says, one guy is walking with a barrel of wine. Okay. And another guy is becoming Bekadeh Shel Davash. He's carrying let's say, a jug of honey. Okay. Honey is worth more than wine. And what happened, Tad, is the same thing as a barrel. So one guy is carrying a barrel of wine and one guy is carrying a barrel of honey. Nizdika chavius shel davash, but the barrel of honey got a little crack in it. So it's slowly leaking out. And this guy's losing honey, which is worth a lot of money. So what did the other guy do? The other guy sees that this man is going to lose his honey. He spilled out his wine. And he saved the guy's honey. Anything that was leaking out of the barrel of the honey, he saved it because now his barrel is empty. Well, the fact is he lost his wine, okay, because he spilled it out on the street. So the Mishnah says, Ein loy elas chorai. The man could only get demand payment. In other words, he could only get let's say the amount of you would pay a worker to save something that's dripping, and also let's say what you would rent the barrel for, but you don't pay for the lost wine. Because the reason is very simple, because the guy didn't say, "Oh, I'm losing my wine, you better pay for it." But if he did say, but if he did say, "I will save yours," I will save your honey, but you'll have to pay the loss that I'm spilling out my wine. So there he took a condition. Then chayiv litin loy, then the owner of the honey has to pay him back for his lost wine. Now, again, I want to point out that the honey is not totally lost. It's not like it's spilling out and he wouldn't be able to save it himself. It's just dripping out, as the Gemara explained. Because if it was totally lost, then the honey becomes like hefker. Anyway, Shotaf, let's get another example. Two guys have a donkey. One guy has a donkey, let's say, a little less. Shotaf, nachal, chamori v'chamor chaveri. A flash flood swept away a man's donkey and the donkey of his friend. Shaloi, his donkey, Yafimana, was worth 100 zuz. V'shel chaveri mosayim, and his friend was worth 200 zuz. So his friend had a more expensive donkey. And he said, V'niach zeh shaloi. He said, I'm not going to save I'll let my donkey drown. And he saved his friend's donkey. All he gets is the reward of a worker saving a donkey, but he doesn't get the payment for the donkey, for his own donkey that he lost, because he could have saved his own donkey. No, he didn't take out this condition, so therefore he only gets a small wage for saving his friend's donkey. But if he said to the guy, here's the condition, I'm not going to save my own donkey, I'll save your donkey because it's more expensive, and I just want you to pay me for my donkey, then the owner of the 200 zuz donkey has to pay for his donkey. Okay, now we go to Daf Kuftes Zayin Omer Aleph, and we go to Kuftes Zayin Omer Aleph, and we go to the top of the page, 4 lines from the top. If a guy made the condition that, listen, Mr. Honey said that the guy said, I will spill out my wine and save your honey, but you have to pay for my wine. So we say that the owner of the honey has to pay for the wine. Says the Gemara, Amai, why should the owner of the honey have to pay for the wine? The name Malay, let him say, Mishatani b'cha. I was just kidding around with you. In other words, I was in a very vulnerable spot. I'm losing my honey. You come up with this condition that I have to pay for your lost wine, so you'll help me save my honey. It was a condition made under duress. And I could say to you, I made this condition with not full my heart, and therefore I shouldn't have to pay for your wine. Where do you see such a concept? Me like Tanya, didn't we learn in the Brisa? Somebody was escaping from jail. Okay, so he's really somebody who's on the run, right? And the Hoysam Beres Lefonov, and he's running away from this jail. And there's a ferry right in front of him, and Amaloi, and he says to the ferry owner, Tul dinar vahavireni, take this dinar, which is an enormous amount of money for just a little ride, and take me across the river. Ein loy elischarai. Then, even though he said, I'm going to give you a dinner, that was understood because he was under duress. So the ferry owner will only get the normal wage, the little token what he's supposed to get for giving this ride, because we could understand that the guy who was jumping on the ferry said he's going to give a dinner because he was under being chased. Alma, so we see Amalei, because the escapee from jail could say Mashatani Bacha. I was just kidding around. I was fooling you. I just wanted to go. So let's say the owner of the honey could say to the owner of the wine, I was just kidding around with you. I was under duress. So I said, okay, I'll pay for your wine, but I didn't really mean it. Answers the Gemara, yes. Our Mishnah is very similar to the end of that brisa. What's the end of the brisa says? If the guy who was running away from jail said, "Tul dinner, take this dinner, bischarcha, with this will be your wage." So he added this word bischarcha. Let's just make that highlight. He added this word bischarcha, right? So now that changes everything around because he's saying that I'm actually going to use this money to pay you for your fare. Vavireni. Then the Brisa says, then you have to pay the full price. Why? Because you said clearly the condition is that this is the payment that I'm giving you for the ride. So Maishna Reisha, Maishna Seifa. What's the difference between the Reisha, when he says just take a coin and take me over, and here he added the word Bischarchem, this is the wage. Amar Rabbi Machama just adds on one other point. The Seifa is talking about B'tzayot Hashoyle Dogim Minayam. Not the second part of the Bryce is talking about a fisherman who normally fishes from the sea. He's not usually giving rides. Okay, he has money to be made by fishing from the sea. By him stopping his work and offering you a ride, he's losing out what he could have fished during that time. So therefore, so he could say to the guy running away from jail, but the fact that I have to now busy myself taking you across the river, afsatani kavare bezuza, you caused me to lose a fish, and therefore that's really my payment. And so there was a special condition met over here, but the Reisha is talking about a guy who's a ferry driver, so he gets the normal fare of a cross. So because our mission is very similar, the guy said clearly that I'm spilling out my wine to save your honey, so I want you to pay for my wine. Once you take such explicit condition, the owner of the honey is obligated to pay for the wine. Then the Mishnah gave a brisa, Shotaf Nor Chamore v'Chamor Chavere Shelo Yafamana. The Mishnah gave you a similar example of a guy chasing a flash flood flooded his donkey and his friend's donkey, and he gives up saving his donkey from being drowned, and he saves his friend's donkey. So it's the same case. If they made a condition, then you have to keep it. If he didn't make the condition, then you don't have to pay for his lost donkey. Utsricha. So the Gemara says, why do I have to give you two examples in the Mishnah? They seem to say the same idea. And says the Gemara, the Mishnah would have said only case number one, Hasam, which is the case of the honey with the wine. Hasam hu deki parish yavle demei kule. Only over there, when you explicitly made the verbal agreement, then you have to pay for the wine. Mishum to be a dying kapasid, because he's losing his wine on purpose. He's actually taking his own wine, spilling it out on the floor in order to save your honey. That's why you have to pay for his wine. But over here, this guy, the Memela, he already lost his donkey. His donkey was swept away with a flash flood. Nema, let us say that even if he says a condition, I'm going to save your donkey and not try to attempt to save my donkey, let us say ein loy elas, he could only retrieve his wage like a regular wage of a diver, but not as somebody who just lost a donkey. So the Mishnah teaches you that even in that case, when you make the condition, the guy owner of the expensive donkey has to pay the owner of the less expensive donkey. The Iyashmid in Sefer would just say the case of the donkeys. I would say like this: Hacha Ovid here, the bestoma ein lo yaschare. If you don't take a condition over there by the donkey case, there, if you don't make a condition, then he only gets paid a wage. He doesn't get paid for his lost donkey. Mishum de Mamela, because his donkey was anyway swept away. Aval Hassam over there, by the case of the wine, I would say that even if he didn't take a condition, he didn't say, "Oh, pay me for my wine," but still, you can see by his actions, the biyadayim, with his own hands, he's causing the loss of his wine. Ema, I would say, afilu b'stoma, even if he didn't explicitly say the condition, yov le'dmei kula, you have to pay for everything. So even if he didn't explicitly say the condition, tzricha, that's why we need both cases. We say to that, even in that case, if he didn't make a condition, if he didn't express the condition, then the other person, the owner of the honey, does not have to pay him for his lost wine. He just pays him a wage. Now the Gemara tells you a new story. Boya minei Rav Kana Marav. Rav Kana asked a question from Rav. Let's say the guy, a very interesting case with the donkey. Both donkeys were swept away. So Yored Lahatzel, he went to save his friend's donkey, right? Because he made a condition, you'll pay me for my donkey, I'm going to save your donkey. Okay, so he saved the 200 zuz donkey. But then his donkey came back. In other words, his donkey didn't drown. Somehow his donkey made it out. So, but does the owner of the expensive donkey still have to pay him for his donkey? Because when he decided that he's going to risk his own donkey, at that moment, the one with the expensive donkey took on the commitment that he's going to pay him for his lost donkey. So who cares if he finds it, or perhaps not, or maybe the condition was that only if you lose a donkey, I pay you for the donkey. But if he didn't lose a donkey because his donkey came back, so maybe the owner of the expensive donkey doesn't have to pay him. Amalei, so Rav answered Rav Kahana, Mishamaya Rechime Alei. In heaven, they gave mercy on him. In other words, the guy's a lucky guy. The guy that saved the 200 zuz donkey now will have two donkeys. One, his donkey that ended up saving itself, and one, the guy who had the 200 zuz donkey is going to have to pay him for a new donkey, because he took on the commitment that he's going to pay him for his donkey that he's risking by not saving. So that is the case. So now he gets a double benefit. And now the Gemara tells us a fascinating thing. Like the following story. The Rav Safra Havaka also b'shayarata. Rav Safra was going on a caravan. La vinhe ahu ari. It's interesting that they trained a lion to join them on their travels, and the lion would protect them from bandits and from other wild animals. So it was like a trained lion. But how do you feed the lion? Every night, every night, one of the people on the caravan would give up a donkey to give it to eat to the lion. Kimata Zimne, the Rav Safra, when it was Rav Safra's turn to give up a donkey to feed the lion for his protection, Shadar Lechamore Veloy Achle. Rav Safra gave him a donkey, and the lion did not eat up. The lion did not eat up Rav Safra's donkey. So Kadam Rav Safra was Zacharev. So Rav Safra was lucky. He didn't he didn't have to give his donkey away to the rest of the people. He just took his donkey back and made a new acquisition on it. So that was the story of Rav Safra, because Mishamayim, they had Rachmanis Rav Safra that he shouldn't lose a donkey. Amalei Rav Acha Difta, Ravinus Rav Acha from Difti sent to Ravina, Lamalei Lamiskebe. Why did Rav Acha have to make a new acquisition to show ownership of this donkey? He never gave up on this donkey. Need let it be that he afgrade when he made it hefkar. He made it hefker in order to feed the lion. Adaita the arye afkare. He only made it on condition that this lion's going to eat up the donkey, but he never gave it up ownership. Adaita the kuli alma loy afkare. He didn't give up the ownership that everybody else could now take the donkey. He just specifically laid the donkey in front of the lion, who did not eat his donkey, but it still should remain Rav Safra's donkey. And therefore, the question is, why did Rav Safra make a new acquisition? So Ravina answered Rav Acha, Rav Safra leRavcha the Milsa David. He did an extra over the credit. He didn't have to do that. In other words, it was always remained his donkey. But what you do see from the whole story is that they let Rav Safra keep his donkey, even though the condition between all the members of the caravan was each one was going to give a donkey for the lion to eat every night. since Min Shemayim they wanted Rav Safra not to lose a donkey, so that's Rav Safra's luck. Same thing over here. When the guy who took the risk and said, I'm going to save your donkey as it was swept away in the flash flood and give up on my donkey, if it turns out that I saved your donkey, but my donkey came out alive without needing help to be saved, you're still required to pay me for another donkey. Now the Gemara says another question. Boy mine Rav mid Rebbe. Rav asked the question from Rebbe. Yored lahatzav lahitzel maho. Let's say the guy said, I'm going to save your donkey. But the question is, he wasn't successful and he didn't save the donkey. Does the owner of the expensive donkey, who now doesn't have any donkey because he wasn't saved, still have to pay for the other guy's donkey's loss? Because he didn't complete his mission. His mission was, I'm going to save your donkey, but he didn't end up doing so. He wasn't successful. So this was a question that Rav asked Rebbe. Amalai, so Rebbe said, V'zu sheila, this is a great question. The truth is that he doesn't have to pay. He only gets the reward. In other words, he only gets a wage. That's it. He doesn't get back the loss of his donkey. Eisvei, so the Gemara asks a question, if you hire a worker, we go to Amud Beis. Lahavi es kruv maskin lachoila, to bring cabbage and plums to a sick person. Apparently, cabbage and plums have medicinal benefits for a sick person. So you hired a guy to bring you cabbage and plums, and v'halach, and then the guy brought the cabbage and plums. Umatzoi shemeis, so you find the guy who was sick, dead, or shehivri, or he got better. So therefore, you didn't need him to bring the cabbage and plums. And you have to give him his complete wage because you committed to that you're going to pay him. So same thing over here. You committed that you're going to pay for the guy's donkey, even though he was not successful in saving your donkey, but you committed that you're going to pay for his lost donkey. So why don't you have to pay? So Rebbe answered Rav, mi damei, there's no comparison. Hasam of shlicha. There, the shlichus completed his mission. You just didn't need it. He got the cabbage and plums. Over here, over here, the shliach was not successful. He did not save anybody's animal, and because he didn't save anybody in the animal, you don't have to pay him for his lost donkey. Tana Rabbanim, New Kamma, Shayara Hoyso Malachas B'Midbar. There was a caravan going in the desert. And a group of pirates came and wanted to rob them. Okay, bandits came to rob them. So they're out there in the open prairie, and bandits came to rob them. So the bandits are basically coming after money, right? So how do you divide up? And let's say you can appease them by giving money. So if the total caravan, let's say, has $1,000 worth of money, and the bandits say we'll take $100. So basically, they're taking 10% of the total money that's in this caravan. So each one depends. That means that everybody in this caravan should give 10% of his possessions, even though some people are carrying more money and some people are carrying less money. The people who are carrying more money will have to pay for more for the protection of the bandits, because the bandits were really after money. So that's what the Mishnah says. Bryce says, you make the calculation according to the amount of money each one has, and you don't count how many is in your group, because the bandits were never after killing people. They were just after money. So the people with more money needed more protection or needed to appease the bandits more, so they pay the higher share of this ransom. But let's say they hired a guide, they hired a security service to protect them, to guide them. So then how do you divide up who pays for what? Well, when you hire a guide, he's not only protecting your assets, but he's also protecting your life, because he's showing you the directions where to go. So if you hire a tour guide to guide you, it depends on how much is in each of your group, because he's helping saving the lives. So if you have 10 people and somebody has three people, so the person with 10 people will have to pay more for the guide. And then you also consider who's carrying more money, because he's actually helping both needs of this caravan. But you have to know how livery cabs work. Sometimes they make the people with nefashos pay more, and sometimes the people with the more money pay more on the group situation. So there's certain rules and regulations. You shouldn't change it. But if there is no rules and regulations, then you can follow what the Gemara just said. Rashamoin Chamoris Chalahasnis, the donkey drivers can make a condition. Shekol mi sheyovid loy chamor yamad loy chamor acher. That if let's say everybody's protecting and everybody is protecting the caravan, and they make a rule that anybody who loses a donkey, we're going to all reimburse you for that donkey, because just because you lost your donkey, we're a group, and if you lose one, we're going to help reimburse you. Biksusya, but if he lost the donkey, the guy in the group lost the donkey because he was negligent, then the other people don't have to reimburse. Shaloi biksusya, but if he wasn't negligent, they have to reimburse him. Vim Amar, let's say he lost the donkey, and he said to them, listen, truly, give me the money for my lost donkey, but still, Vani Eshmar, I'm going to be part of the group and I'll stay as a night watchman. Ein Shaimaloi. We don't listen to him because the condition is that we're reimbursing you with a new donkey. We're not going to give you money so you can hold on to it because you're not going to buy a donkey. The point of this whole thing is that if each member of the group has a donkey to watch, they're going to be more vigilant in being a careful watchman. Says the Gemara, Pshita, isn't this obvious? I mean, this all makes sense. You could figure all these rules out by yourself. So the Gemara says, we could say that the guy that lost the donkey has another donkey. So Mahu Desema, I would have thought, he already has a donkey that he's going to watch. So by him saying, just give me the money for the donkey that I lost, that'll be good enough, because you're going to say that I'm not going to be vigilant to watch. I still have one donkey that it's part of this group, which will force me to be careful to be part of the group, to be a vigilant watchman. Kamash Milan, to teach you, if you're watching one donkey, you're less vigilant than if you had to watch two donkeys. And because you're not watching two donkeys, you're not going to put your heart into the watchman business, and therefore, if you don't have another donkey, they don't have to supply you with the money of a donkey. Tanar Abana, Anu Kamar, Safina Shaisim Alechs Biyam. You have a ship at sea. Ahmad Aleh Nachshul Taiva, and a storm wanted to drown the boat, this big ship. So the Hekilim and Masar, like in the Yonah story, they started throwing the luggage overboard. So let's say a guy has a 100-pound luggage, but he has a very expensive item in there. So it doesn't matter. When we try to reimburse everybody because they're throwing their luggage over, we only take into calculation what the weight of your luggage is that was lost, but not the value of what was inside. Because the point of throwing over the luggage is to make the ship lighter. So therefore, it doesn't matter what the value of your holdings are. When you reimburse, it will be based on weight. And you shouldn't change it around from the ships, from the way ships are, the rules of the ships are during muster drill. So what they do, what they have conditions of how they decide what gets thrown overboard first. And the ship people can make a condition. Let's say there's smaller boats and they're all going as a group. If you lose a ship on our voyage, we're going to reimburse you with another ship. If the guy lost it because he was negligent, they don't reimburse him. If one of the members was not negligent and lost the boat, then all the members have to reimburse him for his lost boat. If the guy went, one of the members of the group started just drifting away to a place where normally the ships are not on that path, he just drifted a little bit more out to sea, then they don't have to reimburse him because he is guilty for not following the path. Says the Gemara Pshita, of course he's guilty. You don't have to reimburse him because he's not following the regular directions. Answers the Gemara, normally in Nisan time, you always stay close to shore because the water is higher, and it's easier to be very close to shore because the water is deep. In Tishrei time, when the water is depleted a little bit, you want to be more out to sea because you don't want to get stuck when you come too close to, like, the Concordia. You don't want to get too close to the shore. So what happened? Because Ozli b'yom Nisan l'makam Tishrei. In the days of Nisan, he went too far out to sea to the place that you normally go in Tishrei. So he's on the right path, just in the wrong season. So, and therefore, because he's so far off the path, there wild, and he lost his boat. So he was just following his old pattern, even though he forgot that the season is now Nisan. And the last time he traveled was Tishrei. So I would think that, he's not such a negligent person. Kamash Malon, he is a negligent person. Since it's Yom Nisan, you shouldn't be so out to sea because the sea is very stormy there, or it's so more closer to the shore. Tanu Rabbanan, a new piece. Shayrara Shahaisim Alechas Bamidbar, Ba'amad Gaius Vatarfa. A caravan was going in a desert, and let's say, and a group of bandits came and wanted to rob them. Ba'amad Echman, one guy got up, Hitzel, and he saved. He took on all the bandits and saved all the money. Hitzel Emsa. So you split it up. Whatever he saved gets split up between the group. But if he said before he's taking on the bandits, like ani atzlatzmi, whatever I save belongs to me. Hitlatzmi, he could get to keep everything because everything belongs to him. So now the Gemara says like this: Hey Chidami, what's the case? If everybody could participate and save from the bandits, I feel a safer namila etzma. So even if he said I'm going to save it and it belongs to me, who asked you to do that? We could have saved ourselves. We don't need you to stand up as a hero. If it was very serious bandits that is very difficult to win them, so he took the risk. So then, even if he didn't make any conditions, he should be able to keep all the bounty that was saved because it wasn't for him. The bandits would have taken everything. So the Gemara gives you 3 terutzim, and this will stop. Here we're talking about they're all partners, right? So it doesn't matter if he could save it, if they could have helped and save, and not like this. Now, in situations like this, a partner could end the partnership without asking any question. You can say, I'm just doing it for myself. So Omar, if he said, Peleg, I'm ending this partnership, I'm saving myself, so then whatever he saves for himself. Loyamar, but if he doesn't say anything, so the way of partners work, sometimes people stand up for each other. Loy polig. So then we don't allow him to separate himself out, and he would have to split if he was successful in warding off the bandits. Rava gives you another teretz. Hacha over here, the one that's doing the saving is not the owner of the items. It's b'payalim askin. It's workers that work for the owner of the caravan. So they had workers there. Ukurav. Rav said, a worker, unlike a slave, can just quit in the middle of the day. He doesn't have to give notice. A slave cannot quit in the middle of his job, but a worker can. As long as you don't quit, the worker still becomes like the domain of the owner, of his boss. When he does quit, it's another reason why you're allowed to quit in the middle of the day, because a person could say, a person could say, I want to be a slave to the Eibishter, not a slave to another slave. In other words, not to a slave to a boss. So basically, the worker, if he said, I quit, then whatever he saves for himself. But if he didn't quit, then he still represents the bosses. And therefore, when he does save that ward off the bandits, so he's still a worker. And therefore, whatever he saves gets split amongst the other people in the caravan. And Ravashi says, finally, when everybody could have helped out, they're all owners and all part of the caravan, could have warded off the bandits, with if they would have stressed, if they would have pushed themselves. Gali date. So if he says that I'm going to be the one to push ourselves, latzmai, then he gets to keep it. Loy gali date. But if he didn't say that I'm going to push myself, so then everybody could have been the hero here. So then, if he was successful, Lamsa, he still has to split it amongst the other people of the caravan. Okay, Bez Hashem will continue tomorrow with the Mishnah on Daf Kuf Tes Zayin Amid Beis.